and I want to speak against this group of amendments. Look, there's a fundamental difference here between the opposition and the government as to how we want to deliver homes and what we want the LDA to do. It is clear from committee stage that those in opposition want the LDA to effectively be an amalgamation agency that brings together lands, and that separately the local authorities would construct homes on that land. And what the government have said is that we actually want all parts of the state firing on all cylinders. We want to ensure that councils on council land, using the Affordable Housing Bill, builds affordable rental, affordable purchase and social housing. We want the LDA on its land, on public land, to build affordable rental, affordable purchase and social housing. We want approved housing bodies to build affordable rental, affordable purchase and social housing. We want every aspect of the state, we want every arm of the state building and developing homes for families and for people. We don't want a quango that amalgamates land, we want an agency that delivers homes. And I think that's a fundamental difference. It's a policy difference between the two parts of this House, but it's an important difference. And the other reason why I speak against these amendments is because of an attempt to put in place a narrative that this government is somehow trying to siphon off homes to developers so we can fleece the people of Ireland. As Deputy O'Callaghan said, why would we do that? Well, I put the question back to him. Why would we do that? Because the Minister has been very clear from the beginning that there is no attempt to do that. And the amendments which he's bringing forward here today in places like Dublin and Cork ensure that we have 100% public housing on public land. It puts a legislative basis to that claim that we have talked about, that we have called for, that we have asked for, that we have marched for, that we have voted in councils for. And here we are now with a piece of legislation which allows 100% public housing on public land. And why did that happen? It happened because the people of Ireland voted for parties that wanted to ensure a change in direction on housing. It happened because those parties came together to form a government, to compromise, to put together a programme for government, and then to work on legislation, to amend it, to perfect it, to deliver for the people who had voted for them and for the people who didn't vote for them. So I'd say to people out there who voted for me or Dara O'Brien or Noel Francis Duffy or Emer Higgins or John Cummins or Mary Fitzpatrick or many other members who've worked on this bill, I would say to you, your vote last February has ensured a change in direction of housing so that we have 100% public housing on public land in those places where we need that to happen. And that's delivering. And that is the difference between the opposition and the government on this. We have real ambition to deliver homes for people. It's not a narrative about siphoning off land to developers, because why would we do that, in the words of the opposition themselves? It's an attempt by the Minister to ensure that we can deliver homes for people. Now, it was described before that the Minister had taken a second-hand car and given it a second coat of paint. And I've heard deputies in this House acknowledge the changes that the Minister has made to this bill. And yet last week, in the extension of tenancy protections, I heard opposition TD after opposition TD stand up in their little 1 minute slot saying this government was doing nothing for housing. I think it's time to admit that in the space of 12 months, we have passed substantial legislation on housing. We have put in place significant tools that will shape public housing policy for the next 30 years. We've put in place tools that councils can use to build affordable homes, mixed communities on their land, that the LDA can do the same, that approved housing bodies can do the same, that organisations like O'Coulon can do the same. And it's really important that we acknowledge that, because it's going to take some time before this is delivered. And so the public have to know that a real change has happened. A real change was delivered after the message of the last general election. And we're being honest, and we're saying it will take some time to physically build those homes, because we know it takes time to build those homes. So I look forward to seeing project after project in my area. I'm talking about the sites in Kildonan, I'm talking about multiple sites in Ballymun that make up the Ballymun local area plan. I'm looking at sites in Whitehall and Oscar Traynor. I'm looking at seeing homes that people can afford. I'm looking at people coming into my office and being able to say, Paul, how do I apply for those new homes that Darragh O'Brien, Fianna Fáil, that this government are building? Because that will be the proof of the pudding. And we have a long way to go. We need to make sure that the review of the National Development Plan reflects the ambition of this bill, and that there is significant investment in housing, that we put our money where our mouth is, as I have said before here. We have to make sure that councils across the country grab the ambition of this and don't allow council officials delay it, but that councillors drive the delivery of home, that they drive the delivery of public housing, that they make sure that sites that they own are turned from empty sites that myself and the Minister have visited many times in opposition, that they're turned into building sites and then into communities where people live. We have to make sure council officials realise that there's been a shift change, that there has now an affordable purchase, and that the delivery of affordable purchase and the delivery of targets for affordable purchase has to be core to what they do. And I join with my colleagues in saying that local authorities should now publish targets for affordable purchase on all of their sites. And then we have to come to communities. Communities like Ballymun and Finglas have been let down on housing policy in the past because we haven't put in place infrastructure, we haven't put in place the services, and we haven't provided a mix of income and tenure. We have to make sure that the projects we deliver benefit those communities. And I look forward to the end of the SHD legislation because it bypassed communities. I look forward to us making another change in housing policy, recognising the message we were given by people last February. So substantial change, substantial amendments, acknowledged by the opposition, but equally opposed by the opposition. Substantial delivery for families, for homes, for young people, real action, real results.